Well, greetings everyone. Deborah Lord, I think it was you who said that I should do more videos using my whiteboard. And I'm going to do another one. And I'm going to talk about why I invest in Tesla stock. And I'll share a little bit about my journey of investing in Tesla stock, where I think it's at now and where things are going. This is kind of like an extension to my previous video, where I talked about Elon Musk and Donald Trump and some of the fallout that occurred. This will go into the risks portion of owning Tesla stock. So Tesla stock in general. Stocks are things you can buy. They're shares of a company. When I say things you can buy, you can go to any store and buy watermelon or a notebook or an apple or a bundle of apples. All over the world, you can buy stuff, food and goods and services and whatnot. Think of it like a global marketplace. I can go online and buy stuff from Costco and they'll bring it to my doorstep. Well, shares of stock are simply pieces of a company. It's like pieces of ownership in a company. So instead of buying apples or bananas or pears or grass-fed beef, you're buying shares of shares of a company that get recorded in the system from the brokerage that you buy them from. A brokerage is just simply like a marketplace or an exchange where you can go there and see what people are offering to sell you the shares of stock for. Supermarkets, Walmart, other places are doing the same thing with their food and their goods and services. They have price tags on them. They say, we're selling this watermelon for $10. And you might say, that's too expensive. I'm going to go to Smith's, or I'm going to go to a back alley in the hood and get it for $5. And you can do that. But there's risks to that. The back alley in the hood might have poison watermelon, even if you can get it cheaper. So price matters. So anyways, that brief discussion on marketplaces and buying goods and services and shares of stock being pieces of a company are important. And if this is that part of investing or that part of trade is unknown to you, I would go on YouTube and watch videos about that to understand that better. So, as life has gone on, I eventually had money. I eventually got some money. So in my early 20s, I didn't have money. So I barely had, in fact, I had negative money in my early 20s. I would continually overdraft my bank accounts and have to pay penalties. And I didn't know how much money was in my bank account. Therefore, I constantly overdrafted and got charged a penalty. So one day I kind of woke up. I was 29 or so. I was married at the time. And I finally got a decent job and started to have some money. And I said, oh, I've got some money here. Well, what should I do with this stuff? And it began a journey of a lot of different things at that age, but one of those things was investing in retirement and preparing for the future with a financial nest egg. Because I'm getting older. At 29, I knew I was getting older. Now I'm 47, but I knew I was getting older and I would need to have something at some point because I couldn't work till I was 90. It's like I'm not Wolverine in the Deadpool movies. Deadpool jokes with Wolverine during the latest movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. He says, till you're 90, that you're going to be working, doing these movies. I digress. Let's get into the journey of investing with Tesla. So how much does a share of Tesla stock cost today? About $295 for one share. And you might say, Jeremy, how many shares of Tesla stock do you have? My answer to that is not enough, but hopefully enough that if Tesla does well, I can retire with it. So I'll say that much. In a few years' time, once once I have seen where things are going in my life, and I'm around age 50, and children are all moved out, I'm no longer paying child support, I might give an update on the number of shares I have. But for now, let's just say that when it was 480, the stock was 480, about $480 last year. I could have sold all my shares and rode off into the sunset reasonably comfortably for the amount of money I've ever experienced in my life. But I believe that Tesla stock is going to go much higher than $295 per share for what it is right now. Tesla as a company is overpriced if you think about it as just a car company. So you'll see Teslas on the road. They have the T, like the triangle T, that looks more like a tornado, but that was my attempt at the Tesla symbol. You see the Tesla cars all over the road, and if you were to buy Tesla just for the cars, it's a bad investment. And I'm not buying it because of the cars. The cars are amazing, they're wonderful. I own a Tesla, but there's much more than the cars that make the company and its future. One of the reasons I invest in Tesla is Elon Musk. CEO / Techno King. He legit has a title of Techno King. I'll move back a little so you can see that. Elon Musk is a rare, unique, crazy, mad scientist, autistic, blunt, unfiltered, uncalibrated individual. But he's a genius, and he excels at creating a vision and marshaling the most brightest and hardworking and dedicated people to achieve that vision. The CEO of a company matters for investing in that company. So the biggest asset to the company is also the biggest risk to Tesla stock, because Elon Musk dying or being assassinated or going to jail or any number of things would hamper Tesla the company. I don't think it would stop Tesla from achieving Elon Musk's vision, but I think it would slow it down for sure. So Elon Musk is both Tesla's greatest asset and greatest risk. One guy with a net worth of, I don't know how many billion now, 400 billion-ish or so, somewhere around there, with not just with Tesla, but SpaceX, XAI, and all his other ventures. I began watching Elon Musk around 2010 on YouTube videos, and it's a shame I didn't invest in Tesla when the IPO happened. I knew there was something different about Elon Musk even before Tesla IPO'd, an initial public offering. That means you can buy shares of the company on a public exchange. They're now listed on an exchange. And so unfortunately, I waited until 2017 to start buying shares of Tesla. Nevertheless, 2017 was still a good time to buy Tesla because it was before people thought Tesla could even be profitable selling cars. Tesla is a unique company. They're doing the most difficult things you can think of when it comes to cars and transportation and energy and eventually humanoid robots. So here's the four main reasons I'm a Tesla investor. Elon Musk as the CEO of Techno King is one. But number two is autonomous vehicles. Number three, energy storage. Number four, humanoid robots. I'll walk over to this side now. Autonomous vehicles. My Tesla drives itself everywhere. And it's not even using Tesla's most recent advanced software. It's an older version. And I just sit in the car and it drives me everywhere. Very rarely do I need to intervene and stop it from doing something it shouldn't. Why does this matter? Why should anyone care about that? There's Uber and Lyft can take you everywhere right now, so who cares that a Tesla can drive itself while you're sitting in the seat? Here's why. If I want to go to the airport and I can't get a ride, I've got to summon an Uber. Unless I can call a friend, which is inconvenient and annoying to do, both for me and the friend. So I have to hail an Uber, and my ride to Salt Lake City International Airport is like 25 miles or so, and it's going to cost me around $50. So it's about 50 to $70, depending on the day. If it's really busy, it'll cost more like $70. So these 25 miles are expensive to travel right now for ride hailing, which Uber and Lyft and other companies do right now. So think of that money I'm paying as a cost per mile. So if I have to travel 25 miles to the airport and it costs me $50, that's 25, or you could say $50 divided by 25 miles is $2 per mile. So let's do an Uber, $2 a mile. Tesla is going to release a car called the Cybercab next year. It's a 2-seater, and they're going to make it super cheap for like $20,000. I think it'll get even less than that. Tesla will make them and use them, but other people will be able to buy a Tesla and utilize and make money from the car. All Tesla owners will eventually be able to make money from the cars as autonomous vehicles. That an autonomous vehicle is a vehicle that drives itself with nobody in it. So Tesla's goal is to drive down that cost per mile that Uber's at right now, around $2, it varies, to 25 to 50 cents a mile. So that's a lot cheaper. So Tesla, let's call it 0.50 a mile. At 50 cents a mile, and if I have to travel 25 miles, that's $12.50. So would I rather pay $12.50 to go to the airport or $50? This is an easy economic question to answer. The easy answer is, of course, someone's going to pay $12.50 instead of $50, assuming that the transportation is safe and reliable, etc. And I think Tesla's autonomous vehicle software and safety is going to continue to get better and better than human drivers. I've been in some Ubers where the driver was nuts and crazy, and I was worried. They were swerving in and out of lanes, and I was nervous. A Tesla vehicle is safe, secure, and cheap. And fast. Safe, secure, cheap, and fast. Secure because there's no other driver. There's nobody in the car except you. That's nice, you have privacy. The safety is, as Tesla continues to show that their full self-driving software is safer than a human, that's going to show that you're safer being in a Tesla. They're going to be cheaper, down to eventually 50 cents a mile or less. Imagine they got to 25 cents a mile and I was paying $6.50 to take a ride 25 miles to the airport. Transportation at that point is basically free. It's a commodity like water, or, I mean, it's not quite like water, but it's getting to the point where it's so cheap that anyone can do it. I think Tesla will start around $1 to $1.50 a mile. They'll go under Uber and Lyft, but they won't just jump to 50 cents a mile because they need to have enough vehicles on the road. They need to have enough volume of vehicles for it to make sense to do that. So that's why autonomous vehicles are pretty amazing. And so when I think about Tesla, the company, $295 a share, how much effect will Tesla building this Cybercab next year and having autonomous vehicles have? So I'm going to try to make this really simple. Tesla's ultimate goal is to build a couple million Cybercabs a year. There's roughly 8 million Tesla vehicles right now. I think in the next 5 years, Tesla will have around 50 million vehicles, roughly, that can be autonomous. And I don't think everyone will choose to make their vehicle an autonomous taxi going around picking people up. But let's say Tesla is going to have roughly 20 million vehicles in 5 years. 20 million vehicles in 5 years. And those vehicles are driving people around, and they're making Tesla $200 a day. So we'll just do some simple math real quick. We're going to draw an arrow to the math part of this. 20 million. What's 20 million times 200? Well, 20 million times 2 is 40 million. 20 million times 20 is, 20 million times 2 is 40. 20 million times 20 is 400 million. 20 million times 200 is 4 billion. So we're going to call this 4 billion per day. So roughly, you can expect that Tesla's autonomous vehicles are going to make 4 billion per day in the future. Once Tesla's built a lot of them, and the software is going to be much safer in those 5 years. This is 2030, around 2030. 365 days a year times 4 billion equals, let's see, it's about, let's do like old school math. This is like bringing me back to my kindergarten days. All right, so we've got 1.46 trillion. $1.46 trillion. So first off, why did I come up with $200 a day for an autonomous vehicle? It's a rough guess. I don't know what the exact number is going to be, and I'm sure it's going to vary depending on weather and holidays and whatnot. But my Uber ride to the airport for 25 miles takes about 30 minutes, and that's $50. So when you have that for a Tesla, that's $25 for 30 minutes ish, $50 for an hour. Cars have to charge, the cost is going to go down, so $50 an hour seems like it should be times like 12, it should be around 600. But cars aren't going to be driving all the time, and they have to stop for charging and repairs, etc. So my conservative estimate is at $200 a day per Tesla vehicle. So $1.46 trillion. So this is like a long-term grand vision that Elon Musk is incredible at. He sees this. He's already been talking about this for years and years and years, if you just listen to him. So when I see that, I say, yeah, that's pretty good. What amount of that 1.46 trillion will Tesla keep as profit, like net profit, that the company adds to their cash pile? Well, roughly a conservative estimate on that will be about 25% of the money. The rest will go to building the cars, paying out to Tesla customers for charging the cars, for cleaning them, etc. But I think around 25% will go to Tesla's bottom line. A lot of people think it's going to be a lot more, but I'm being conservative. So when you say 25% of 1.46 trillion, so 25% of 1 trillion is 250 billion. And then you have 25% of 0.46, which I'm going to round up to, round up to 50 billion. So 25% of 50 billion is 12.5 billion. Or 125 billion, sorry. Okay, so now we have 250 plus 125, 375 billion. So if Tesla earns 375 billion net profit in a year, which I think is feasible, I think it's feasible for the world to have 20 million Teslas around it. Even in the US. This is why people think Tesla's autonomous vehicles will disrupt Uber and Lyft, because they'll be safer and cheaper and more secure and faster to hail. Right now, you have to wait you have to wait 5 to 10, sometimes more minutes to get an Uber. Tesla can utilize software and have Teslas floating around ready to just instantly be summoned within a minute to your location if there's enough of them. So when I look at the stock price, $295 per share, how does one come up with the price of a stock? Well, generally you can use something called the price earnings ratio. It basically says what is the stock price relative to how much money it's making. And right now Tesla's is high. Their price earning ratio is like 180, which is super high for companies. Even a tech company, it's really high. Like Apple has like a 30, Microsoft has around a 30. That's fine. So generally you take the net income for the year and you multiply it by a reasonable price to earnings ratio. So the reason Tesla has a 180 price earnings ratio is because their net income is nowhere near what it can be. So people are looking at Tesla for the future saying, yes, we think Tesla is going to very much grow into a valuation or an earnings that drives this down drastically. So we're going to pay a premium now for something that's going to be incredibly valuable in the future. So there's things in life that you can pay a lot for now, but because they're so valuable, like my dad bought a Michael Jordan rookie basketball card decades ago, and he paid a lot for it at the time, but it's worth a lot more now. It's a lot more valuable. So let's take this 375 billion and so an easy calculation of what you think the future stock price will be is to take the future earnings, the future net profit you think the company will make, and multiply it by a reasonable price earnings, which in this case, Apple, Microsoft are 30 price earnings. It fluctuates. They're not exactly that right now. You take the future net profit for the year, let's say 2030 or 2031, which is 375 billion times 30. So now we have to do this again. We've got the 0. Okay, did I do that right? I think I got it right. 11,250. If I got that wrong, so be it, but I think it's close to the right number. So you might say, Jeremy, Tesla stock $11,250 per share, that's ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous. Can Tesla really do this in 5 years? Even if they do it in 10 years, you can see the potential if they truly execute on their autonomous vehicles. Now, there's various estimates for how much Tesla will have in the next 5 years. 20 million vehicles may be a good estimate for the next 10 years, but if you have that, then you're at $5,500 a share with 10 million vehicles. If you have 5 million vehicles in 5 years, you have it again and you're at around $2,500 a share. So even the low case estimates, Tesla has more than 5 million vehicles right now. I think they're going to have more than 5 million Cybercabs alone in 5 years. So it's quite feasible that Tesla stock, assuming Elon Musk doesn't get assassinated and put in jail and other things that can go wrong, so there's risk reward, Tesla stock can be worth many thousands of dollars a share in the future. I absolutely believe that. So to sell now at $295 or even $480 a share, well, that could bring me more wealth than I've ever seen in my life right now. I believe that it's going to be worth so much more in the future. There's no guarantees. I could lose it all. Lots of bad things can happen, but lots of good things can happen. And once you learn to look at the future of a company and really dive into the vision that's laid out and crunch the numbers for yourself and do this math here, which is the expected net income times the price earnings ratio, you can get the value of the stock price, a potential stock price for the future. So now if Tesla's net income was only going to be $375 million for the year, you can't do it this way because company market caps are in billions and trillions. So if this was only going to be a million, you've got to shave off 2 places. So that's just a nuance. So yeah, that's why I invest in Tesla. That's just the autonomous vehicle portion of it. There's humanoid robots. There's energy storage with its Megapack. So these are 10 times bigger than autonomous, Elon says. Much bigger than autonomous vehicles. Energy is in infancy. Tesla sells Megapack. It's this giant battery storage that utility companies use. Humanoid robots that are doing labor and building goods and services being 10 times more than this. You kind of have to rethink global economics. Global economics and GDP becomes something different when there's billions of humanoid robots doing things. I'm not even going to go into the numbers of that. Suffice it to say, I think $480 is way too cheap to sell Tesla at. So I'm taking the risk and being brave and believing in the vision of the world's most groundbreaking company, that it will change our world dramatically. And it starts with these autonomous vehicles. They're going to start in Austin, Texas, very soon this month, in the next week or two-ish, with 10 they're going to start with, and then they'll do more as they validate, and they'll eventually spread throughout the US, and then China, and Europe, and Australia, and all over the world. And of course, there's risks. Of course, something could happen, and I could lose this money that I've invested. But if Tesla really does what I think it's capable of doing, I will have completely changed my family line. Okay, there's a little bit of an interruption there, but if Tesla can do what I think it can do, I will completely alter my family line economically. Completely change it. Tesla getting to thousands of dollars a share will retire me several times over. And then I'll have a giant pile to leave to my daughters and potentially someone someday that I connect with and marry too. So that's the beauty of doing this, is I have something grand I can leave behind to those I care about. That's really what it's all about. So thanks for sharing and enjoying this wild picture. I know it took a long time to explain this, but I'm but an apprentice teacher. Hopefully you all found this interesting. There's some nuances to the numbers, calculating the price earnings ratio, multiplication of the net income times a reasonable price earnings ratio that I know I went quickly over. But this is what I think Tesla can be one day. Greater than 10K a share. Pretty crazy to think about. Namaste. We'll see you in the next video.